Then this took me 3 years to actually learn when I was starting in photography, and this is a big mistake I made within my own self and also with my own mind as well when I was actually starting out in photography. Within the starting point of my photography, I was learning about just photography in general, and I never really got into photo editing, as I thought photo editing actually ruined the photo itself. I would actually just be posting photos raw into Instagram and just by posting every single day of like flowers, people in football, and then also just like nature in general. That's what I was really into, and then I'd try and get into like macro photography and stuff, and I would just go shoot in raw and literally just post it out of the camera into Instagram and then put in a bunch of hashtags or something like that and then post it, and people would actually interact. But the thing is, my photos were just very overexposed for most of the time, or either like the camera setting was actually correct because I was using automatic at that time, whereas now I use manual mode or either the other camera modes such as aperture, I don't know why I did two there, aperture priority, shutter priority, and all those camera modes themselves sometimes, but I mainly just use manual mode for now, and then I just have autofocus. Main thing I want to get into is when I started to learn about photo editing. As I've said many times in this channel and on Instagram, that it didn't really go really well for about 3 years, so that took me a long time to literally learn of how to edit decently. But whereas I was very much, I just overcomplicated many things about photography and photo editing themselves, and also the style of photos I actually wanted to take. And so the style of photos I wanted to take was like pretty much stuff out of movies, or maybe stuff out of just something about, I'm going back 3 years, so I'm trying to actually figure out what I used to take. I think it was more cityscape, more landscapes, more anything in general, I suppose, just more of that, and just trying to go towards places down the south coast and just try and take photos as much as I can, because I loved it. I do really love it down there. And whereas now it's changed a bunch of times now, where I take photos of beaches, or I take photos of cities, or I take photos of food, or I take photos for a main specific reason, for a movie, for example, which is why I created a movie preset, or either I'll create photos out of summer, autumn, winter, and all sorts, which yeah, like those are the main things that I'm now doing at the moment. But back then I didn't really capture those for the specific reasons. I just captured it because nature is cool and I wanted to capture some cool landscapes and just try and practice as much as I can. But let's go back to the photo editing part. The photo editing part, it overcomplicated me because I felt like I need to learn everything within a day, learn everything about Photoshop, in which I actually am still learning about now, even though it's been a few years. But I don't really use Photoshop unless I have to blur something out, or either I just get rid of something. That's literally the main thing I literally use it for, was just to get rid of stuff that are unnecessary, which I should be doing at this point, but I don't really. That's my own fault. I don't really go on Photoshop very often. But with Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, I was oversaturating a lot of things. I was using too much color. I was darkening a lot of my photos because at the time I really liked to make my photos more dark and moody. That was my favorite thing to do, and use a lot of contrast, which I don't really use very often. But back then, sorry, I used contrast heaps. 100% on contrast, 100% on shadows, 100% on blacks, and all, just anything you can think of in that editing system, it'll just be 100% in that. And that's why most of my photos don't look as good as what I do now. Yeah, let's go with that. But the main thing is to take away is to don't overdo it. Do not overdo and overcomplicate the simple things about photo editing themselves, because photo editing is very simple, whereas for me, I tend to overcomplicate it for my own self. Even though something as simple as making a coffee, for example, I tend to overwhelm myself because I have to make, let's say, a cappuccino. I have to use the frother and try and, you know, not burn my hand, because I have actually had marks just right about like there somewhere. But anyways, but when I am making coffees, I tend to overwhelm myself because the thing is too hot. This is the first time I actually made coffee, and then the milk exploded all over me. Like, this was the first time I was actually trying to make coffee, and this was when I was trying to be a barista. And I literally got so overwhelmed that I just decided, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to quit and just move on to the next thing. That's what I did with photo editing a bit, except I didn't quit. And the fact that I didn't quit within 3 years, which was ridiculous, I just still kept going and I tried to, you know, be a bit better. But the thing is, it didn't really become very much better until I realized, oh, you need to just do this simple thing to make sure the milk doesn't explode on you. It's like about as simple as that. Just as simple as just turning the slider that way. See how simple that is? Most of my photos back in 2018 and 2019, they could be as simple as just adjusting the slider. Just adjusting the slider. And adjusting, yeah, you get the point now. But like, it's ridiculous of how my photos end up like that. But you know what? I learned from that mistake, and I'm here. I'm here now. How many years? 6 years. So wait, no. Yeah, nearly 7 years later. I'm not good with maths, so just I'll put something in there in terms of how many years it's been since then. Wait, 7? Yeah, 7 years. Okay, I'm gonna go with 7 years, but if I'm wrong, it'll be here. It'll be like something like that. But if I'm correct, then I'm a great mathematician, which wasn't even great at maths in school. Anyways, let's just go back to the bloody photo editing part. Photo editing was very simple to just adjust those things, and then as soon as I realized I needed to adjust those things, I became a lot more better, and then I became this photographer who would just go, let's go ahead and just lighten those photos a bit more and brighten the mood up, instead of being this dark, moody, very much contrasty person and just go wham, and just go black and white, bam, there you go, sort of thing. And then yeah, and then those transform into more brighter photos. And then I still darken my photos every now and then, depending on the photo now. But now I choose the type of photo I want to take, and I choose the type of style of editing I want to do. But then now, those few layers of me just tweaking those things, I then found my photo editing style by choosing movies that I wanted to make, and by choosing the season I want to make, or by choosing the theme of the photo, and then I just go ahead and create a preset out of that, and then I go, okay, let's just put it into here, and boom. And it's not that simple. It was not that simple to literally do that within those 3 years, as I did compare myself for one, and I also took some bad photos, and I also tried to become someone that I wasn't. Let's go with that. And plus I stopped for about a year or so because of other circumstances, which I've discussed in another video, which will probably pop up in the end or so. But yeah, those are the main things that I want to be talking about in terms of how I found my own photo editing style and how many years it took, which was 3. And I don't want you to do the exact same thing of wasting another 3 years of trying to find your own photo editing style and trying to find the right path for you, because there is no right path until you find that path throughout 4 mistakes. So yeah, that is actually how I actually found my own photo editing style within those 3 years of just starting, and then I became a bit more better within each and every single time I took a photo, and then I became the photographer I am today in 2025. So yeah. Alrighty. Whew. Crikey. The one message I want to send out is just don't overcomplicate it, and just simplify the game of photography and learning of it. Learning from it. So, like and subscribe, check out the presets, check out the guides, and check out the camera setting cheat sheet, which is brilliant. I definitely recommend it. Not being biased, but today's video is sponsored by me, so yeah. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in a little bit.